This is not an aberration. This presidency is not an aberration. These tactics are not an aberration.
He's
And
way better at it than any of the guys of the past had been. And that's why it seems an aberration, because he's doing it all at once.
And it's not just that he's better at it, it's that his team, the entire team, has a very clear understanding of what this is about, of what's at stake, and that they must prevail at any cost and will do anything. We talked about last week how Allison Grimes' campaign people were saying, oh, she's lying on supporting coal. As soon as she gets elected, it doesn't matter anymore. She'll do whatever she wants. She'll do whatever the Democrats want. But we have to say that she supports coal because this is Kentucky and voters are stupid. We talked about that as a tactic. This is not, again, an isolated thing. What you find, and there's a couple of stories that support this in Texas that are going on right now. The first of which, we've had a voter ID bill passed last year, and it was in effect in...
I think it was passed in 2012, because it was in effect. It was passed in 2012 and was in effect in the 2013 elections.
Right. So I went to training. I'm an election judge. I went to training. I learned how to effectively handle ID for people. It has added maybe a couple of minutes to voting for people that might not have had an ID, but it was not a huge burden from the perspective of the voters or from ours. We got a lot of voter rolls straightened out that way, too. Then the Democrats challenged it legally. And we've done a lot in Texas to make sure that everybody had ID. They've even created something that I was hoping they would, mobile ID vans. You could get free ID, and the state would bring a van that had all the equipment that was going to help you get that. If you were in an impoverished position, if you couldn't go and take care of an ID yourself or couldn't afford one, the state made arrangements for that. I don't know specifically what they were, but the state made arrangements to deal with that. But the lawsuit happened, and so this week we've heard that voter ID in Texas is now not going to pass. It's been stayed because of a judge's decision. And then we hear today that stay has been reversed and that now voter ID will be in effect in this November's election in Texas, the voter ID law that we had passed. And so I'm getting kind of whiplash over this. But the point being that even if you pass a law, even if you depend on your guys that you've elected, however good or bad, to get the law passed that you want, or to unpack, undeal, to revoke and repeal some laws that are bad, that's not the end of it, because the Democrats will not give up. They will launch immediately into lawsuits. Why is the lawsuit arena better for them? Appointed judges. This makes total sense to me that the #1 priority ought to be replacing all the Democrats, firing Harry Reid from his majority leadership position, and taking the Senate, and then in 2016 focusing everything we have on gaining the executive position in the presidency so that we do not have any more of those judges appointed. But going back to what I guess the ground is, how many judges they have appointed already, it's going to take years to cycle through all those judges and get them all out and replace them with conservative Republican appointments. So one election in one presidential year is not going to do it. There's also, just on the local level here in Houston, the Houston Equal Rights Ordinance, which the mayor passed, which is like equal access to bathrooms for transgendered people. I don't even know all the details of this thing, but it was supposed to allow, transgendered or people in the middle of elective surgery to use an opposite-sex bathroom, and people on the right handled their opposition so miserably. Instead of talking about the businesses and the burdens on it, they started talking about predators, and they started talking about sex offenders, and it was just a really nasty fight. And the churches got involved. The pastors' council got involved. And so now, in the middle of this lawsuit where they were attempting to put this issue on the ballot and let the people actually decide rather than the city just creating an ordinance, now that there's been a lawsuit about it, the mayor and the city's lawyers are now subpoenaing the sermon notes, the sermons from pastors, not even in that pastor council that opposed this, to use that as part of discovery. The tactic there is to overwhelm the side that's in opposition to this ordinance with everything they can think of, flooding them with paperwork, attempting to harass them, compel them to produce sermons and whatnot. Okay, this is typical. This is not anything out of the ordinary. This is how the left fights. And if we have any argument from the beginning of the show about people not wanting to be involved in politics, they're getting bored, they're getting overwhelmed, they don't think it matters. It matters. This is the proof. They don't give up. And I'm sorry, people, that politics is becoming 24/7, 365, but that's the choice. Yes, exactly. It's what JD is doing. It's sticking your fingers in your ears. La, 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 la. Exactly.